The hospital room was a sterile cage, its white walls closing in as Ethan Caldwell lay still, the silence louder than any sound he'd ever known. For 3 years, the world had been muted since the accident that stole his hearing, leaving him to navigate life through signs and lip reading. But today, a cochlear implant hummed to life in his skull, and the first sound he heard was his own heartbeat tracing. Alive and terrified. San Francisco's autumn breeze greeted him as he stepped out of the hospital, the city's hum flooding his senses. Car horns, distant laughter. The rustle of leaves was overwhelming, like a symphony he'd forgotten how to hear. Ethan, 28, with his sharp jawline and hazel eyes that held too many secrets, clutched his jacket tighter. He wasn't ready for this world of sound, nor for the one person he'd see tonight, Lucas Reyes, his high school rival, his first love, and the man who'd broken his heart a decade ago. Their history was a battlefield. In their small-town high school outside Sacramento, Ethan and Lucas were opposites. Ethan, the quiet artist who found solace in sketching, and Lucas, the charismatic track star who thrived in the spotlight. They clashed in every debate club meeting, their arguments electric, masking a deeper pull neither dared name. By senior year, stolen glances turned to stolen kisses behind the bleachers, a secret romance that burned bright until Lucas vanished after graduation, leaving Ethan with a crumpled note. "I'm sorry. I can't." Now, 10 years later, Ethan had moved to San Francisco, built a life as a graphic designer, and buried his past. But Lucas was back, a guest speaker at the city's annual Pride Art Gala tonight, where Ethan's work was being showcased. Ethan hadn't planned to attend, but his best friend, Mia, insisted. Her texts relentless. "You're not hiding forever." He didn't know Lucas would be there until he saw the event program. And now, with his hearing restored, the idea of facing him felt like walking into a storm. The gala was held in a sleek downtown gallery, its glass walls reflecting the city's lights. Ethan arrived late, his nerves frayed, the new sounds of clinking glasses and murmured conversations disorienting. His artwork, a series of vibrant paintings depicting love in its rawest forms, hung proudly on the walls. He scanned the crowd, heart pounding, until his eyes landed on Lucas. Taller now, with broader shoulders and dark curls tamed by time. Lucas stood near a painting, signing to a small group. Ethan froze. Lucas was using American Sign Language, fluid and confident, unaware that Ethan could now hear the world and him. Ethan's chest tightened as Lucas's hands formed the question. "Why are you here?" The words weren't for Ethan, but for a curious attendee asking about Lucas's presence at the gala. Yet they hit Ethan like a punch, dragging him back to that note, to the pain of being left behind. He wanted to turn away, but his feet carried him closer, drawn by a force he couldn't name. "Lucas," Ethan said, his voice rusty from disuse, testing the sound of his own words. The room seemed to hush, though it was only his mind amplifying the moment. Lucas turned, his brown eyes widening, a flicker of recognition followed by something deeper: guilt. Maybe. Or longing. "Ethan." Lucas's voice was soft, hesitant, and it was the first time Ethan had ever heard it fully, unfiltered by memory. "You're signing," Ethan said, nodding toward Lucas's hands. "Didn't expect that." Lucas's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, his hands moved instinctively. "Signing. I learned for you." The confession hung between them, raw and unguarded, and Ethan's heart stuttered. Lucas didn't know about the implant, didn't know Ethan could hear every word, every breath. The vulnerability in Lucas's eyes was unmistakable, a crack in the armor he'd worn since high school. "Why?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The question wasn't just about the signing. It was about everything the years apart. The silence. The love they'd buried. Lucas's hands faltered, then dropped. I needed to understand you. After I left. He stopped, glancing at the crowd, then back at Ethan. Can we talk? Somewhere quieter. Ethan hesitated. Every instinct screamed to walk away, to protect the fragile peace he'd built. But the sound of Lucas's voice, the sincerity in it, tethered him to the moment. He nodded, and they slipped out to the gallery's rooftop. The city sprawling below, a canvas of lights and shadows. The rooftop was a sanctuary, the noise of the gala muffled by the night air. Lucas leaned against the railing, his silhouette sharp against the skyline. I didn't know you'd be here, he said, his voice low. I didn't know you'd hear me. I got the implant a week ago, Ethan admitted, touching the small device behind his ear. It's new. Everything's new. He paused, the weight of the moment pressing down. Why did you learn to sign? Lucas. After all this time. Lucas's gaze dropped to the city below, his jaw tight. When I left, I thought I was doing the right thing. My family. My daughter was so against us. I was scared. Ethan. I ran to college. To a life where I could pretend I didn't feel what I felt. But I couldn't forget you. I learned ASL because it was the only way I could feel close to you, even from a distance. Ethan's throat burned. He wanted to hate Lucas, to cling to the anger that had kept him safe. But the sincerity in Lucas's voice, the way his hands trembled as he signed, I'm sorry, chipped away at his defenses. You broke me, Ethan said, his voice cracking. You left without a word, and I had to pick up the pieces alone. I know, Lucas whispered. I was a coward, but I never stopped loving you. The words landed like a spark in dry grass, igniting something in Ethan he thought had died. He stepped closer, close enough to feel the warmth of Lucas's breath. Then why are you here now? Ethan asked, echoing the question Lucas had signed earlier, the one that had pierced him. Lucas's eyes searched Ethan's, raw and unguarded. Because I'm done running. I came back to San Francisco for you. To find you. To try again if you'll let me. The city hummed below, a living pulse that matched Ethan's racing heart. He didn't know if he could trust Lucas, if he could risk the pain again. But standing there, with the world alive in his ears and Lucas's voice trembling with hope, Ethan felt the first stirrings of something he hadn't felt in years, possibility. The rooftop air was cool, but Ethan's skin burned under Lucas's gaze. The confession I never stopped loving you hung between them, heavy with a decade's worth of regret and unspoken promises. Ethan wanted to believe it, wanted to let the warmth of Lucas's words melt the ice around his heart. But trust was a fragile thing, and his was still in pieces. You don't get to say that, Ethan said, stepping back, his voice sharper than he intended. The city's lights blurred in his vision, a kaleidoscope of color that mirrored the chaos in his chest. You don't get to come back after 10 years and act like it's that simple. Lucas's face fell, but he didn't retreat. It's not simple. I know that. I hurt you, Ethan, and I'll carry that guilt forever. But I'm here now, trying to make it right. Ethan laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the night. Make it right. You think a few words and some sign language fix a decade of silence. I rebuilt my life. Lucas, I had to learn how to live without you. Without sound. Without, he stopped, his throat tight. The cochlear implant buzzed faintly, a reminder of how much had changed, and how much hadn't. Lucas's hands moved again, signing instinctively. I was wrong. I was scared. Then, in a voice soft but steady, he added, I was 18. Ethan. My dad threatened to cut me off if I didn't fix myself. I thought leaving was the only way to protect you from that mess. Ethan's jaw clenched. He remembered Lucas's father, a stern man who'd glared at them during school events. His disapproval palpable. But knowing the reason didn't erase the pain. You could have told me, Ethan said. You could have trusted me to handle it with you. I know, Lucas admitted, his voice breaking. I was a kid, and I made a kid's choice. But I'm not that person anymore. Ethan studied him, searching for the boy he'd loved in the man before him. Lucas's eyes were the same deep brown, warm, and haunted, but there was a steadiness now, a quiet strength that hadn't been there before. He'd become a community organizer. Ethan had learned from the Gala program, working with queer youth in crisis. It was a life that suited him, one that spoke of redemption. But Ethan wasn't sure if it was enough. Let's walk, Ethan said abruptly, needing movement to quiet his racing thoughts. They descended from the rooftop, weaving through the Gala crowd, and stepped into the streets of San Francisco. The city was alive. It sounds a symphony. Ethan was still learning to navigate street performers strumming guitars, the clatter of cable cars, the chatter of passers-by. Lucas matched his pace, their shoulders brushing occasionally, a silent reminder of their closeness and their distance. They ended up at a small park near the Embarcadero, where the bay's dark waters reflected the city's glow. Ethan stopped by a bench, its wood worn smooth by time, and sat, gesturing for Lucas to join him. Tell me, Ethan said, his voice softer now. What's your life been like? Why come back now? Lucas exhaled, running a hand through his curls. After I left, I went to UCLA, got my degree, started working with nonprofits. I kept tabs on you, Ethan. Not in a creepy way, he added quickly, seeing Ethan's raised eyebrow. I saw your art online, your exhibits. I was so proud, but I was too ashamed to reach out. Then I heard about your accident, about your hearing, and I couldn't stay away anymore. Ethan's chest ached. He'd never known Lucas was watching from afar, carrying his own regrets. You learned ASL for me, Ethan said, the realization settling deeper. Even when you thought I'd never know. Lucas nodded, his hands signing. It was my way of keeping you with me. He paused, then spoke aloud. I came back because I'm tired of running from who I am. And who I am is someone who loves you. Ethan. Always has. The words were a lifeline, but Ethan wasn't ready to grab it. I don't know if I can do this again, he admitted, his voice raw. I loved you so much, Lucas, and it nearly destroyed me when you left. Now I can hear again, and it's like I'm starting over. I don't know if I can let you in. Lucas's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but he didn't push. I get it, he said. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I'm here, Ethan. I'm not going anywhere this time. They sat in silence, the bay's gentle waves filling the space between them. Ethan's mind raced, torn between the past and the possibility of a future. He thought of his paintings at the gala, each one a piece of his soul, poured onto canvas to make sense of his pain. Lucas had seen them, had understood them, and that meant something. Let's take it slow, Ethan said finally, the words a compromise with his own heart. I need time, Lucas. But I'm not saying no. Lucas's smile was small but radiant, like the first light after a long night. Slow is good, he said, signing the words for emphasis. I'll wait as long as it takes. As they walked back toward the city, side by side, Ethan felt the weight of his anger begin to lift, replaced by something tentative but real hope. The sounds of San Francisco wrapped around them, a reminder that the world was vast. And maybe, just maybe, there was room for second chances. The next few weeks were a dance of caution and curiosity. Ethan and Lucas met in Fragments coffee shops. Art walks. Quiet evenings at the park each encounter a step toward rebuilding something neither could name. The cochlear implant made every moment vivid. From the lilt of Lucas's laugh to the soft rustle of his jacket. But it also amplified Ethan's doubts. Could he trust this man who'd once shattered him? San Francisco became their backdrop. Its foggy mornings and vibrant nights a mirror to their unfolding story. Ethan's days were filled with work, his graphic design projects demanding focus. But his nights belonged to Lucas. They talked about everything and nothing: Lucas's work with queer teens, Ethan's art, their shared memories of high school. Each conversation peeled back layers, revealing the men they'd become. One evening, they sat in a cozy Mission District cafe, the scent of espresso grounding them. Lucas was animated, signing as he spoke about a kid he'd helped, a trans teen who'd found a safe home through his organization. "It's why I do this," Lucas said, his eyes bright. "I want to give them what we didn't have, a place to be themselves." Ethan watched Lucas's hands, the same hands that had once held his face during stolen kisses. "You're good at it," Ethan said, meaning it. "You've always been good at making people feel seen." Lucas's smile faltered. "Except you," he said quietly. "I failed you, Ethan. I see that now." The honesty disarmed Ethan. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing Lucas's. "You're trying now," he said. "That matters." Their hands lingered, a tentative bridge between past and present. Ethan felt the pull again, that magnetic force that had always drawn him to Lucas. But with it came fear of losing himself again, of opening a wound that had only just scarred over. The turning point came at a community event Lucas invited him to, a fundraiser for queer youth at a local rec center. Ethan arrived late, still adjusting to the cacophony of voices and music through his implant. The room was alive with colored drag queens performing, teens laughing, volunteers bustling. Lucas was in the center, organizing with a quiet authority that made Ethan's chest swell with pride. As Ethan watched, a young woman approached Lucas, her hands flying in ASL. Ethan caught fragments of their conversation, his implant picking up her soft voice as she thanked Lucas for helping her escape an abusive home. Lucas signed back, his expression tender, and Ethan realized how much Lucas had changed. The boy who'd run from his feelings was now a man who faced them head-on. Later, as they cleaned up after the event, Ethan found Lucas alone, stacking chairs. "You're different," Ethan said, leaning against a table. "Not just because of the work you do. You're steadier." Lucas set down a chair, his eyes searching Ethan's. "I had to grow up," he said. "Losing you was the worst mistake of my life. It forced me to look at myself, to figure out who I wanted to be." Ethan's heart raced. He stepped closer, the space between them electric. "And who is that?" "Lucas. Someone who deserves you," Lucas said, his voice barely audible. He signed, "Someone who stays." The words broke something in Ethan, a dam he'd built to keep his emotions at bay. He closed the distance, his lips finding Lucas's in a kiss that was both a memory and a promise. It was soft at first, tentative, then deepening as years of longing poured out. Lucas's hands cupped Ethan's face, gentle but sure. And for the first time, Ethan felt safe. They pulled apart, breathless, foreheads pressed together. "I'm scared," Ethan admitted, his voice trembling. "But I want this. I want us." Lucas's smile was a sunrise. "Me too," he whispered, signing. "Always." The weeks that followed were a blur of connection. They spent nights cooking in Ethan's small apartment, laughing over burnt pasta and shared stories. Lucas taught Ethan new signs, their hands brushing as they practiced. each touch a spark. Ethan's art flourished, his paintings taking on new depth, inspired by the love he was rediscovering. But doubt lingered. Ethan couldn't shake the fear that history would repeat, that Lucas would leave again. It surfaced one night as they lay in bed, the city's hum filtering through the window. What happens if it gets hard again? Ethan asked, his voice small. What if you can't stay? Lucas turned to him, his eyes fierce. I'm not that kid anymore. Ethan, I've spent 10 years regretting what I did. I'm here, and I'm staying unless you tell me to go. Ethan reached for Lucas's hand, intertwining their fingers. Don't go, he said, the words a vow. As winter approached, Ethan felt the pieces of his life falling into place. His hearing was still an adjustment, the world sometimes too loud. But Lucas was his anchor. They were building something real, something worth the risk. Yet, in the quiet moments, Ethan wondered if the past could ever truly let them go. Winter settled over San Francisco, blanketing the city in a chill that mirrored the uncertainty Ethan still carried. He and Lucas were together now, their days filled with small, beautiful moments: morning coffee runs, late-night walks along the bay, stolen kisses in the rain. But the past was a shadow, always lurking, and Ethan couldn't fully shake the fear that it would pull them apart again. One evening, as they sat in Ethan's apartment, a storm raging outside, Lucas received a call that changed everything. His face paled as he listened, his free hand gripping the edge of the couch. When he hung up, he turned to Ethan, his eyes heavy with something unspoken. My dad's sick, he said. Cancer. They don't know how long he has. Ethan's heart sank. He knew how complicated Lucas's relationship with his father was, the man who'd once driven a wedge between them. Are you going to see him? Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. Lucas nodded, his jaw tight. I have to. He's in Sacramento. I need to make peace with him. Ethan. For me. Ethan understood, but the news stirred old wounds. Sacramento was where it all began and ended. The idea of Lucas returning there felt like a test, one Ethan wasn't sure he was ready for. Do you want me to come with you? He asked, the offer genuine but laced with fear. Lucas hesitated, then shook his head. I need to do this alone. But I'll be back. I promise. The word promise hung heavy, a reminder of the note Lucas had left years ago. Ethan forced a smile, but as Lucas packed a bag and left for the airport, doubt crept in. What if facing his father brought back the fear that had once made Lucas run? What if Ethan lost him again? The days without Lucas were agonizing. Ethan threw himself into his art, painting feverishly, each stroke a way to quiet his mind. He avoided the gala paintings, now stored in his studio, unable to face the emotions they held. Mia noticed his withdrawal and dragged him to a bar one night, her no-nonsense attitude cutting through his haze. He's coming back. Ethan, she said, sipping her beer. You've got to trust him. And yourself. I'm trying, Ethan admitted, the clink of glasses around them grounding him. But it's hard to believe in something when it broke you once. Mia leaned forward, her eyes fierce. You're not broken. You're stronger now. And so is he. Don't let the past steal what you have. Her words stayed with Ethan, a lifeline as he waited. Lucas texted daily, sharing updates about his father's condition and small moments from Sacramento. One message stood out. I told him about us. He didn't say much, but he listened. That's a start. Ethan read it over and over. Hope battling fear. A week later, Lucas returned. Ethan met him at the airport, his heart pounding as Lucas stepped through the terminal, looking weary but whole. They didn't speak at first, just embraced, the world falling away. I'm here, Lucas whispered, his voice a balm. I'm not going anywhere. Back at Ethan's apartment, Lucas shared the rest. His father was stable for now, but the visit had been heavy. He's changed, Lucas said, his hands signing absently. Not completely, but enough. He said he wants to meet you someday. I don't know if I'm ready for that, but it's something. Ethan took Lucas's hand, feeling the weight of his words. We'll figure it out together, he said, the promise mutual this time. Spring arrived, and with it, a new chapter. Ethan's latest exhibit was a hit, his paintings drawing crowds at a small gallery in the Castro. Lucas was there, cheering him on, his pride evident in every smile. One painting stood out of vibrant canvas of two figures signing to each other under a golden sky, their hands a bridge between them. Titled Why Are You Here? It was Ethan's heart laid bare, a testament to their journey. As the exhibit closed, Ethan and Lucas stood before the painting, their hands entwined. I'm here because I love you, Lucas said, signing the words for emphasis. And I'll keep proving it. Every day? Ethan's eyes stung, but he smiled. I know, he said, his voice clear. The cochlear implant no longer a stranger. And I love you too. They left the gallery hand in hand, the city alive around them. The past would always be there, a scar that told their story, but it no longer defined them. They had built something new, fragile. Yes, but rooted in truth and forgiveness. As they walked into the night, Ethan heard the world in all its messy, beautiful clarity. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid.